Okay, so I've been alive for 14 years now, and every now and then I see some creepy stuff out of the corner of my eye. I'm feeling either something watching me or an odd fissure running through my body. One time I was just sitting in my room about a month ago in the dark because it was night and I hate the light, when I see an odd silhouette come into form and begin to dance around in the dark. It was oddly slumped over, and I faintly remember him or it having red eyes and possibly a hat. My mother once said that when she was walking by our grandfather clock, that she heard a man's voice, clear as day, say, "Watch out," in a really menacing tone. I remember my dad telling me something about how he used to wake up with this old man or something near the end of his bed, glowing, or something like that. I don't remember the whole story he told me. This was like 5 years ago. One time, I used that a lot. I saw a bright light create a L across the sky super fast, stopping only once to abruptly turn and shoot off in the other direction. All of my immediate family sees shadows. I don't know if my dad does. And most of us believe in the paranormal. I have no proof of this stuff, and it's likely only imagination, but I still see and feel it, and it's creeping me out a bit. 2 days ago, I woke up to this feeling something was watching me, and that it had red eyes. I frankly didn't like that, and decided to pretend to be asleep and to not move or breathe too loud. I just pretended it was fake, because I couldn't see it, but there are a lot of things you can't see. This happened when I was about 4. My cousin, 15 at the time, took me and a couple of my other cousins down to the lake to catch some frogs. Someone had the idea to go check out the train tracks, so we went to the train tracks, and I got a really bad feeling about it because the air was abnormally colder than the lake air was, and I found it off and wanted to go home. So we went home and everything was fine. I went to sleep that night and had a really bad dream about a person laying on the train tracks and getting hit by a train. This continued for 3 months, and every dream was the same, except it was a different person being run over each time. Well, I think it was a dream. I think it was the last dream I had about this thing, where in the dream I was the one getting hit, and when I woke up, I was standing in the middle of the train tracks where everyone was hit in my dream. I don't know what happened after that. All I remember was waking up in the hospital. Someone told me I was passed out on the sidewalk and brought me here. I'm 14 now, and I just learned that the people in my dream were actually people who committed suicide on those tracks. I never went back to those tracks, and sometimes I still get the nightmare. This is a true story, by the way. I promise you, I'm not making it up. Hey guys, I'm a first-time poster. Everyone I tell this story to says it's the creepiest thing I've ever heard, so I thought I would share. I was the biggest non-believer in ghosts. Now I believe. Enjoy. When I was 14, me and my friend, let's call him Tom, stayed over at our other friend's house, let's call him Josh. Josh had recently moved into this house, and there's already a few creepy notes around the house. The context. 1. It is in the middle of nowhere. There are 3 houses close to each other. Then nothing but fields, forest, and farms for miles. The 3 houses are Josh's. A house that belonged to 2 white witches, and a bedsit where a man used to live. However, 3 years ago, he hung himself in the bedsit, and the police only found him when Josh's dog kept barking outside the bedsit, and there was a weird smell coming from it. Number 2. Every single person who lives in the house have had a paranormal experience of some kind. The brother claims at night, a week roughly, his shower will turn on and he will hear someone whistling a tune, the same tune every time. Then the shower will turn off. The whistling continues for about a minute, then nothing. The mom, and this is the one that creeped me out, says she sees a woman in the corner of her room some nights. She has to turn the light on, and the stepdad will sit with her until the woman was gone. The man, when staying in the square room, says she always sees the same shadow woman by the window in that room. So it's not uncommon to hear a scary story at this house. As a non-believer, I found excuses for each one, such as old pipes or just mistaking shadows. The mom's one did scare me a bit though, as I had no explanation. Maybe dreaming? Josh's room is said to be the safe. No one's had any experience in that room and nothing weird has ever happened there. So I never used to mind staying in that house if I stayed in his room. I may have been a non-believer, but I sure wasn't willing to take my chances. Number 3. The house had an old cellar which has 4 tunnels stretching off either side, and they can't find the plans to where these tunnels go. The cellar is always freezing cold to the point where you can see your breath, and whenever it gets opened, the dogs go crazy with barking. The house is creepy as fuck, with everyone having paranormal experiences, but I was a non-believer, and so would I stay over as long as I was in Josh's room with him. The story. Me and Tom stayed over for the night, and both chose to stay in Josh's room, as there was plenty of space. Everything was a normal night, but a gaming, late-night chat about girls, nothing out of the ordinary. We fell asleep fairly early with Josh and Tom in the bunk bed, Tom on the top bunk and me on the floor. At around 3 a.m., we woke up to the sound of footsteps climbing the stairs. It unnerved me instantly because of the nature of the footsteps. They were very sharp and loud, and the steps would be climbed all the way to the top, and then it would start from the bottom again. In my head, I had visions of their cat climbing up the stairs, then sliding down the banister to the bottom and starting again. Their cat had a bed at the top of the stairs and always without fail slept in that bed. The family tried to make the cat stay with them, but he would always ask to leave and go to his bed. It also could not be the dogs, as they were not allowed upstairs and was normally on the opposite side of the house in their beds. So the cat was the only plausible answer for me. However, it was so loud that I did doubt myself a lot and was nervous. Could a cat really make that much noise? After about 10 minutes of the footsteps, I remember calling out quietly to Tom and Josh to see if I should go check on the cat, but neither replied to me. So I decided, fuck, let's check. I got up from the bed and walked to the bedroom door, and just before I put my hand on the doorknob, the room went ice cold. I had something, and I don't know what it was, but something stopped me from opening the door. Maybe a gut instinct. Maybe someone was telling me it was a bad idea. All I know was I felt something I had never felt in my life before. Something horrible. And with that, I realized something. The footsteps had stopped. I could visibly see my breath in front of me and was frozen in spot. I felt like something was behind the door, but I didn't know what. I couldn't turn on the light as it was by Tom in the other side of the room, and I was frozen, so couldn't get there. I just waited. I remember the feeling until the day I die, a feeling of dread. I slowly retreated back to my bed once I found my feet. I hid myself in my sleeping bag, keeping my eyes firmly on the door. The temperature of the room returned to normal. I was warm again, and most importantly, the footsteps continued again. I stared at the door all night. Eventually, I passed out. I woke up in the morning and the door was open. I could smell bacon being cooked downstairs and everything seemed normal. I eyed up the landing, but realized there was no dread in me. Nothing. Everything was back to normal. Saw Tom sitting at the table and Josh making breakfast. "How'd you sleep?" Josh asked. I decided to be brutally honest, just in case it's happened before to Josh. I said, "I heard footsteps all night, loud. Did anyone else hear them?" Josh looked shocked slightly and gestured over to Tom while mentioning that to Tom had brought it up earlier this morning. I remember looking properly at Tom, who looked scared. He didn't answer, so I explained more. I did call out to you guys to ask, but no one answered, so I assumed only I heard it. I remember clear as anything Tom, eyes fixed on the table, interrupting with, "And you got up to check it." "Yeah, I know." I explained I was going to, but everything felt horrible, didn't it? Cold, like someone had thrown ice water over us. I thought you were going to open the door, but something inside me felt like, if you did, something terrible was going to happen. I was shocked. He felt it too. It wasn't me being crazy. I asked him why he didn't say anything. He said he was frozen to the core. What he said next scared me the most. What would we have seen if you had opened the door? Sometimes your imagination can get the better of you there. Who knows what I would have seen? Maybe Kat hearing me get up and coming to check up on. "Hi, boys." Josh's mom had came in. "Josh, you'll never believe what happened last night. We actually had Harry, the cat, come to sleep with us." I felt sick. The cat wasn't in the bed for the first time since they lived there. So it wasn't the cat. It was definitely something else. What was climbing the stairs, whoever it was, they heard me coming. And if I had opened the door, what would they have done to me? Who protected me? I will never know. Tom never stayed there again. It took me 6 years, but I stayed there when I was 20 for his 21st birthday party. Nothing unusual happened. 14-year-old me hears ghosts climbing stairs, gets feeling a dread when going to check on it, and it stops. Also let me know how I did. It's my first time telling a story in writing. Normally I say the story out loud to people. So, I was 11 when this happened. I was staying at my father's house. He had lived in a shared community home, and they gave him the attic. It was a great size, and it had a jacuzzi in the bathroom. Now, this is in Malden, Massachusetts. The house is very old. I mean, very old. Everything creaks when you step on it, and the windows have fancy old locks in the attic. It was the only room in the entire house with such locks. My parents had just divorced recently, and my dad moved here to have his own place temporarily until he could afford a place on his own that wasn't shared. He ended up getting his own house. He normally went to work around 9 a.m., and I was left in there by myself. I really wasn't scared of doing so. Now my father had been interested in witchcraft. He considered himself a white witch. I was fine with it as long as he was happy. Before he left for work, he went into the closet and shut the door. I heard him cast his spells or whatever, I don't know, but it was in a mumble. He brought a miniaturized pan with a candle inside of it with him. I thought nothing of it until he left for work. Strange things started happening the minute he left. Bathroom door randomly closed. Now I know what you are thinking. Old house equals drafts that may close it. No, sir. This door had a doorstep under it. I know it did prior to it closing because I had just put it there. Since he had already left, who was there to move it? But I was like, whatever, and slid it back under the door. But the minute I did so, I heard a creak over by his dining table. Now this attic isn't that spacious, but it's a great distance between the table and the bathroom. Still, I thought nothing of it. I carried on as usual, playing Xbox 360 for a few hours. He gets home late, around 11, and now it is 7-ish o'clock. It got dark very quickly, and I had the light of the TV and ceiling light to keep me sane. But oh fuck, the power goes out on the whole block. I look outside, not a street lamp on at all. It's pitch black outside and in. and the only light is the moonlight. I'm fucking scared shitless. Then the bathroom door closes again. No draft. I put the doorstop under it and it still closes. But this time it didn't sound soft. It was a light slam, as if someone had pushed it shut. And I swear to God, it felt as though not one of two, but three people were standing near me. Goosebumps hit, and I swear I could hear a light whisper coming from the closet. I'm almost to the point of crying when the power cuts back on, and all the doors in the room swung open with a force. In the corner of the room, a tall, shadowy figure with a somewhat church-looking hat stood. Tears fill my eyes, and the fucking thing turns around to reveal a Moses parting, the Red Sea wide smile. But that's the thing, no other features besides a smile. That's all I could remember before I fainted. My father came home and cussed me out for having all the lights on, but I was so confused. I never stepped foot in that house again. Luckily, I was leaving the next day. This story is a complete recollection of my experiences in an old Massachusetts house. Anyone else got one from Massachusetts? So this happened when I was about 8 or 9. This was around the time creepy shit was happening. I started to see and feel a man or something just following me around and standing above me as I slept. I stayed up all night a couple of times. I just couldn't keep my eyes shut for some reason when I tried to sleep. This started to become a problem, and I was falling asleep in class. My parents decided to buy me one of those salt lamps, thinking it would help as a nightlight, but that did nothing. In fact, it really just made it worse. I was seeing shadows in my room at night, and since the salt lamp was too bright for my parents, their room was across from mine. It was a small one-floor house. I had to sleep with my door closed. This was going on for about a month until something happened that actually made me and my brother switch rooms. I was cleaning my room one night when I felt the presence again. Behind my bed, I saw a woman with black eyes and a sharp-toothed smile. Her hair looked wet, and she was wearing a dress or a nightgown that looks like it's from the 1800s. This made me drop the broom I was holding and run to my mom. My parents were believers of those things, and I was too. So she believed me, and I had to sleep in their room for about a month. I am 18 now, and sometimes I still see that woman in the corner of my eye.